very brief, and then I'm going to call Olivia and present her afterwards. The act of creation, the biblical story, begins with minerals, and it goes up to vegetables, and then the humans goes up. And most people are kind of like overlooking the fact that minerals were closest to the act of creation. And artificial intelligence is really taking chips, which is inanimate objects, and making them think. So in a sense, that element of making something mineral think gives it a little bit some superiority over human intelligence, perhaps, from some standpoint, because it utilizes something which is closer to the actual creator's intelligence. You see birds that know how to fly, and it took humans like years to do that. And I've talked with pilots that did F-15, and they said they're envious of birds that know how to navigate. And birds obviously don't do it from their own mind. It's not their intelligence, but it's kind of like nature's innate intelligence, which is kind of built in. They don't even know how they do that. And so are we. We also have both type of intelligences. So here we are to explore the kind of combination of human and natural intelligence and artificial intelligence governed by Ian Nacht. Ian, in 1 minute, you want to just explain about what you're using here?
Okay, so I have a couple apps, iPad apps. One of them is called Quincy, and it utilizes Conway's Game of Life. Ooh, that would take a half hour to explain. Basically, it's algorithmic, and I don't control almost anything, except I draw a few shapes, and then the computer goes from there. So if it's wonderful, then I'll take all the credit, and if it's terrible, then it was the computer that did it. We have Scape by Brian Eno. I don't know if any of you know him. He's like the forerunner of ambient music. He designed an app that utilizes like probability networks, and it makes ambient music that sounds a whole lot like Brian Eno, and you have some control over how it sounds, and some of it is random. And I'm going to run the note information into a program where I control how it sounds. So I'm going to be doing some things here, and I don't control the notes, but I do control, for example, whether there's like a piano or a synthesizer playing. So that explains what I'll do.
Okay, and now it's my pleasure to invite Olivia Goldman, and she's going to pronounce her the difficult name. And she's a neuroscientist at Rockefeller University, a PhD student, and she's going to discuss artificial intelligence from neuroscience perspective.
Thanks, Kobi, for having me here.
Sit down.
Sit down. So I'm reading from an iPad because I don't have access to a printer. So I'm sure many of you have been in that situation before, and so they have iPads. So just to introduce myself again, I'm Olivia Goldman. I'm a PhD student at Rockefeller University, and I studied neurobiology and sensory perception. I'm also the Chief Creative Officer of Neurostorm Studios, which is a VR company that explores storytelling at the intersection of science and art. So I kind of just prepared some thoughts that I thought, I'm a neuroscientist, so I think about the way things work and build a lot, and something I've become really interested in the past year is artificial intelligence. So I thought I would just prepare some sort of ideas that maybe you could think about while Kobi and Ian perform. So artificial intelligence, or smart machines, has become an intimate part of our lives. It helps us find the best route to work, protects our inboxes from spam and our bank accounts from fraud, recommends to us who might become our new favorite artists, and as I found out from my younger brother over the holidays, helps Snapchat provide special dog-related geo-filters when you take a photo of your favorite family pet. The rapid digitalization of our lives and the growth of endless amounts of data in the last 20 years has been a major part of what's enabled the latest wave of applied artificial intelligence. So one of the goals of artificial intelligence is teaching machines to do things that seem to require human reasoning and abilities. So things like recognizing objects in a photograph, playing board games, or telling jokes. I recently came across a joke generated by an artificial intelligence program called Stand Up, written in all caps, of course. The joke is, what do you get when you cross an optic with a mental object? It's an idea. It's not a great joke, but you can tell what it's trying to do there. So the development of these expert AI systems that can do one human task really, really well, or sort of well, come with limitations. Computer scientist Donald Knuth said, AI has by now succeeded in doing essentially everything that requires thinking, but has failed to do what people and animals do without thinking. That somehow is much harder. So sort of what Kobi was referring to earlier. So ultimately, we can't teach machines to do things that we don't understand how we do ourselves. Here, I'll take some part of the blame, because neuroscience has been studying the brain for over a century. A machine that already listens, understands social environments, uses language, thinks creatively, recognizes faces and emotions, and demonstrates empathy. Although we've made some considerable discoveries, we don't have the resolution of the circuits or the abstractions that our mind uses to accomplish these things. So we haven't been able to teach them to machines, even though toddlers can somehow do these things almost effortlessly. But where artificial intelligence really excels is not in imitating human capacities. It's in computers' emergent properties to do things no human possibly could. Machines can repeat tasks and perform calculations with speed and accuracy. Machine learning can parse through mountains of numbers and discover relationships and correlations far beyond human detection. It can consider vast amounts of recorded information from our past and determine probabilistic outcomes of our futures. And with the advent of strategies such as neural networks and deep learning, machines are beginning to figure out for themselves how to perform tasks that are too complex for us to teach them. Through observing human performance or studying vast amounts of labeled data sets, artificial intelligence is becoming better and better at driving cars, understanding speech, reading handwriting, seeing, hearing, and perceiving. However, by using various different powerful and statistically driven techniques to change and revise the way a program weighs different features of data, it has become nearly impossible to understand the process that allows these machines to have these new abilities. It's a beautiful surprise that these neural networks are almost as inscrutable as the biological machines that they're named after, the neural networks of the brain, and that these artificial intelligence neural networks and our brain neural networks work in a similar way. Both the brain and AI use interconnected networks of neuronal units that wire, rewire, and revise their algorithms for only one discernible reason: optimization. As a sensory neurobiologist, I'm incredibly excited by the expansion of AI's perceptual abilities, the same way I'm thrilled by the abilities of other biological species. Pigeons, like Kobi mentioned, have the ability to detect and respond to magnetic waves. So this is how they navigate, by understanding where they're going relative to the polarization of the Earth. Butterflies can see a much wider visual spectrum than ours, including ultraviolet. Bats can hear at frequencies 100 times higher than we can, and use hearing over vision to construct their spatial environment. From a computational perspective, mammals perform most of our complex computations using the 6 outer layers of our brain called cortical circuits. Reptiles are able to perform comparatively well using only 3. Clearly, these animals have a whole completely different way of perceiving the world than we do. So maybe on second thought, it's not so surprising that we're not really able to disentangle how artificial intelligence accomplishes certain tasks, the same way we are not able to understand how our own intelligence does. As artificial intelligence develops its own way of seeing, perceiving, and thinking, and becomes more connected to the data of our physical world rather than the digital one, it is clear that we're going to be able to learn a lot about our own world and about ourselves from artificial intelligence, the same way we have learned so much from other species that have developed and optimized their circuits in the same world. Art is the perfect place to explore this. Art is the perfect place to explore this. While computer scientists are developing ways for artificial intelligence to try to explain itself with language so that we can ultimately understand what it's doing, we should not forget that there are ways of communicating without words. Although much of the art that AI currently creates is programmed with the intention of imitating humans, there will be always some element of the outcome that perhaps no human would have produced. Since AI can now beat us at chess and can sometimes be indiscernibly good at imitating human behavior, we have to wonder, when do we call it sentient? What does it mean to be alive? I believe that the stuff we call a soul is not a product of a result or shown through behavior, but actually a function of a process of our internal states. Maybe one day AI will have its own version of a soul. Maybe it already does. But even now, this is where a collaboration between humans and AI becomes even more intriguing. Art has almost as many forms and functions as pixel state combinations on your computer monitor. But one purpose of art that I like to think about is that we create art to be less alone and to help others feel less alone. So often our language fails to communicate a deeper essence of how we feel, to really bear the contents of our soul. Art is somehow proof of one soul trapped within a biological body communicating to another. So why not expand this to other intelligences within other types of bodies? I am so looking forward to the new things that humans, machines, art, and the collaborations between them will express as we build and understand the new internal universe of artificial intelligence. And I hope you guys enjoy this performance as well.